Today we're going to review some geometric basics that you all learned in 4th grade. You should already have created your foldable, but if you haven't, you're going to take a piece of white paper and you want to tri-fold it. So when you open that paper up, you have 3 sections. The first section, we're going to have the word draw written very small at the top. The second section is going to be how you say the different terms that we're going to be talking about today. And the third section is going to be how you write. So those are the columns that we would like to see on the inside. Once you've folded it up, it's going to look like this. And we're going to have 7 specific sections. And you can see we're going to be talking about what a point is, what a line is, what a line segment is, what a ray is, what parallel lines are, perpendicular lines, and intersecting lines. And then again on the inside, we'll have 3 sections. The first section says draw, say, write. So that's what's happening. And again, we're going to have 7 different sections that we're going to be talking about. So you'll be able to pause and add information into your foldable as we go through these sections. So what's a point? Points are the most basic geometric item that we're going to be talking about. And a point is an exact location in space. So you can write that definition beneath the word point, an exact location in space. And then on the inside of your foldable, what you would draw, if you were drawing a point, it would look like this. So oftentimes on a number line, when you've been asked to locate a place on a number line, you just use the little dot point. Okay, and then we would say it would be said point A if we are talking about a specific point. And then we would just write it like that with the capital letter A. So when we're writing about a point, if I ask you to name a specific point, then you would just use the capital letter associated with that point to indicate which point you're talking about. The next item that we're going to talk about is a line. And a line is a straight path of points that goes on forever in 2 directions. And if you were drawing a line, you would notice you have the arrows at the end to indicate that that line goes on forever in both directions. And a line has an infinite, never-ending number of points on it, but you would typically see at least 2 points labeled on a line. You may even see 3 points labeled on a line. And you can use any 2 points on that line to name it. So if I want to refer to this line, I would say line AB. Or I could say line AC. Or I could say line CB, because those are all points on this line. And the way you would write about this line, if you needed to refer to this line in writing, you would use the line symbol and you would pick 2 points on that line, and that can refer to line AB. But again, if there's multiple points, you could appropriately refer to it using any of those points that you see. So I could use all 3 of those points if I want to reference this line. So a line segment is similar to a line in that it's on that line, but it's just a part of a line that has two endpoints. It's not the whole line. So in this line that I've drawn across the screen, this piece that I've highlighted in orange is a line segment, and this piece that I've highlighted in green is a line segment. And then the entire thing, if I went from point A to point C, could also be a line segment. So here we actually see three different line segments. So if I were going to draw the line segment, I would show the endpoints, and I would just draw the chunk of the line segment, or which line segment I want to show. So I might want to show line segment AB, or I might want to show line segment BC. So I'm just referring to the chunk of the entire line that I'm focused on that are in between those 2 points, the end points. And the way I would say this is I would just say line segment AB. Or if I was referring to the other one, I'd say line segment BC. And I would write that similarly to how I would write a line, but since there are endpoints, I don't have arrows, I just show a line without arrows signifies that it's a line segment with my two endpoints. So this first line segment here, that first line segment, is line segment AB. So I've just used the endpoints A and B. And then my second line segment has the endpoints B and C. So we just use the symbol for line segment, which is that line with no arrows, and the endpoints B and C, or A and B, depending on what they are, to name my line segment. Next, we're going to talk about array. Array is a part of a line that has one endpoint and then goes on forever in the other direction. So on this line, there are a few different rays. We could have ray CB, which indicates that it starts at point C and goes on forever in the direction of B. And if that was our ray, we would draw it like this. We would show C's here, B's here, and the arrow in the direction that it's going. Another ray that we could see on our model could be a ray that starts at A and goes on forever in the direction of either C or B. And we would draw that ray the same way, except our endpoint now would be A and it's going towards B. And I would just say these ray CB, starting with the endpoint and then the direction it's going, or ray AB. And when we write these, it's similar to the way we write a line or a line segment. It's like a combination of a line and a line segment. That's the symbol for array. And we just start with its endpoint and then the second point on the line in the direction that the ray is going. Or it could be ray AB. So that would be how you would draw, say, and write if you were referring to a ray. Okay, next we're going to look at specific types of lines. The first set of lines that we're going to talk about, first type of lines that we're going to talk about, are called parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that never cross and are the same distance apart at any place that you look on the lines. So these two lines, lines AB and line CD, would be parallel lines because they're never going to cross, and they're the same distance here, same distance here, same distance here, apart from each other, that it never will change. And when we draw them, we really would just draw a picture showing that the two lines would not be crossing. When we say it, we would say line AB is parallel to line CD. And if we're going to write it, there is a symbol that means parallel. We would use our symbol for line AB. And this symbol with two lines, vertical lines that look parallel, means parallel. So this means line AB is parallel to line CD. So that's how we write that two lines are parallel. They don't have to be lines. We could be referring to a line segment. We could be referring to two rays. So it doesn't necessarily have to be lines that are parallel. It could be line segments. We could be talking about two rays that are parallel. Either of those situations. So the next set of lines are called intersecting lines. Those are two lines that pass through the same point, or they just cross. So you can see in the drawing, and this could actually be your drawing here, we have line AB, which intersects or crosses with line CD. And again, like I said before, these could be line segments, but since we're talking about lines, we'll just use the lines. And I would say line AB intersects with line CD. And if I had to write this, there is no special symbol for intersects. I just write the word intersects, and I would say line AB intersects line CD. But again, if they were line segments, I would just use the symbol for line segments. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect, but in a special way that forms a 90-degree right angle. And that looks like this. So you're going to have two lines that are just going in one vertical, one horizontal, going in very different directions like that. And talking about lines. Now again, these could be line segments, but in our example, we're going to be talking about lines. So we're looking at line AB and line CD. And you can see that they intersect in such a way that it's forming four 90-degree angles. And those little boxes that I've just drawn, those mean 90-degree angles. So they reference that those are 90-degree angles. When you see that little box, that's what it means. And the way we would say this, we would just say line AB is perpendicular to line CD. And there is a special symbol for perpendicular. So when you write this as an answer to a question, you would write it using that special symbol. So we'd say line AB. So notice how I've referenced the line. I've used the symbol. And that means is perpendicular to line CD. So that's how you would notate it mathematically or write it mathematically instead of how you would say it. You would write it using these math symbols. So that's perpendicular. Okay, so in the diagram or the picture I have drawn, we're going to go through identifying all of those geometric ideas that we just discussed in the video. So the first thing I would like you to do is just identify some points. If I asked you to name 3 points on 3 different lines, look at what some of your options might be. And I'm going to highlight some options. So you might say point D, and we can see D is on this line, so I'm not going to name another point on that line. So another separate point on a different line might be point H, and point H is on that line, so I'm not going to mention I. So I have point D, point H, and another point could be point F, right there. And point F's on that line, so I'm not going to talk about point G. So those are 3 different points, if I just want to name a point, on 3 different lines. Now I might ask you just to name 3 different lines. So if I ask you to name 3 different lines, you might look at this line. and on your paper